Just in case, yeah. There we go. All right, so today we have a special guest with us. Linda Boyer Owens from District HR has agreed to meet with us today and discuss a little bit about some of the potential upcoming changes that are taking place in the HR process. So thank you for joining us, Linda, and please take it away.
Okay. All right. You can share with your online folks even after the meeting.
Yes, I'll upload it.
Take a photo and shoot it out to people. What I was sharing was just sort of a recap of the conversation that we had in December. I think your December faculty senate meeting, and you had asked me to come because you had some questions about how our personnel matters handled, what's the faculty members experience when those matters are being handled. You had some suggestions for us. I mean, in my team we said you gave us some fees. and that's good. I mean, we are happy to have input and kind of continuously improve what we consider to be our professional practice. What I handed out was a set of bullets. I think there were 4 or 5 items that we had talked about back in December, and I took those back to my team right away, and we've been talking about them and meeting on them ever since. It was Joffrey Miller and I were with you in December. So Joffrey was there, and we sort of shared the conversation with everybody else. But those points were, and I think they're really good changes. The whole team really liked them. We would first, just do some really basic things, like make sure that if a faculty member or any employee is called to a meeting on a personnel matter, we want to make sure that the employee knows what is the meeting about. Nobody likes to be surprised. And secondly, that we would limit the number of people in a meeting like that. It can be overwhelming. We heard that a year or two ago from SAC, and we thought we had kind of cleaned that up with our team, but we may not have been strong enough with leadership and bringing multiple levels of leadership into a meeting with an employee. So we've talked that through, and we said really 99% of the time we don't need more than 2 people. We need an HR person and we need the employee supervisor. And so that's what we'll limit it to. If we're doing, say, a civil rights investigation where we do the Title IX process A, process B, then we have 2 people there, and they're both assigned to that case. And one is the interviewer and the other is the note taker. So even in that scenario, it's only 2 people. And that seems a little more, when I think about it myself, that would seem a little more manageable for me to talk to somebody about something that they think didn't go right. So we're committed to do that. You suggested that we take the signature lines off of the memos that we sometimes issue to employees or the departments are issuing. And the more we looked at that, we said, we can live with that. That is kind of it's kind of bureaucratic. It's kind of scary, maybe more so than it needs to be. And as we sort of looked at your input, we said, really, we have a goal this year to move away from kind of traditional old school personnel management kind of that comes to us from the industrial age, where everything's really transactional. What we want to do, and you'll see it later, we want to move to a more restorative approach. So we're really working on relationships between the employee and the supervisor, not trying to figure out, what from column A did you violate, and here's the consequence from column B, or policy A, policy B, and here's your letter signed and you're good to go. That it's not really producing positive change. It's not building positive relationships, which is what we all really need. going both ways in that conversation. So we're taking the lines off. It may take us a while. I saw one came across my desk yesterday from a vice chancellor, and they had dutifully put lines all over it. So we're going to have to educate folks on this.
It is confusing for the employee because they think they're agreeing, and then
Yeah.
HR says, no, it's not saying you're agreeing with this. It's just saying that you received this.
Yeah.
And that seems weird to me.
I'll tell you that it's just, I think it's not necessarily, there are two people there. We know you got it.
Right.
If you're worried, email a copy, that's fine. We just have all kinds of options. I'll tell you, I was trained that way from, I don't even want to say how many decades ago and how many different companies, but it's pretty standard that you say to the employee, sign here. You're not saying you agree, you're just saying you received it, but we are not attached to that, so we're going to let it go, and we'll help leaders over the course of the coming year.
In the chat, Linda.
Mhm.
Did you have a question?
Yes, I was wondering, is there an issue with like the person that is bringing forth a complaint or a grievance of some sort, like an employee bringing forth something? You had mentioned that you would have the employee supervisor and then the HR person there on the company side. But for the the employee side, is there any issue? Like if they wanted to bring their, I don't know, their mother, their father, their, whomever with them as a form of comfort or support, would that be?
Yeah,
Yes.
she's asking, can the employee bring somebody with them? And she said even, anybody as a form of comfort or support or, whatever. And we get that question sometimes, and sometimes we can accommodate that, and we do.
I also think it's because sometimes you want to witness.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's just comfort, if I may
I
add
agree.
that as well.
Yeah. So we can work on that. We can take a look at that and see.
Yeah, I would think, because sometimes it may be daunting to, or kind of a daunting experience for an employee, and then they are faced with, an HR person, maybe a legal person or a supervisor, what have you, and you don't want to feel like, okay, I'm going on to the by myself kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's just a thought.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll take that back to the team. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then,
Isn't there something in the policy that says something like you're allowed to have a faculty liaison or somebody like that? I forget what the
I'm
term
gonna
was.
have to research it.
Okay.
And I think it varies based on what kind of what's going on. What's going on? I think she started out saying, if it was a grievance or something. I mean, there's different scenarios where we get into these kinds of, crucial conversations, these uncomfortable meetings, and so we'll have to sort through some of that. But I'll check the procedures also.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Sorry, I came in late.
It's
I was
okay.
coming from another meeting, and I went to NHC by mistake.
Did
I'm
you get-
sorry if you've already discussed this, but at the bottom where it says continue our plan to transition to HR restorative practice.
You're ahead of me.
Yeah, we haven't gotten
You're ahead of me.
Okay, never mind.
I'm going to go back to
Patience.
I'm going to go back to and finish the last bullet on the top section, because that's what you all brought to me.
Okay.
And you have a copy, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I think we talked about this a bit, but we talked about it a lot in our team session, is just what's the structure of that conversation? If an employee, sits down with their supervisor and an HR person, how does that go? And we know as practitioners it can go a lot of different ways. But the way it needs to go, and we talked about how we need to make sure it goes this way, is the employee needs to understand, what are the issues? What are the concerns? Tell me all of it and give me a chance to respond explain, clarify, ask questions so that we really understand, what the issue is, and have an opportunity to input before somebody decides what is the personnel action that's going to be taken. That might mean you need another meeting. It might mean that what you thought happened didn't happen and
Right.
you just throw the whole thing out, or it might be that what you thought happened, everybody agrees that's what happened. But you don't really know till you go through those 3 steps to ensure that everybody's got a fair understanding and a fair hearing of, all of the facts that everybody's got can bring to clarify. Because again, if we want to restore a relationship, it's not about just, hitting people with a write-up. It's about really building that understanding and that communication. That's really, the HR person's there, as a neutral third party and should be able to make sure that that kind of conversation has a better chance of happening. When you just have the supervisor and employee in the room, that sometimes that's really hard to achieve. We think that's what we hear, but when we're there, our role really should be to help that communication develop and go to some more positive places rather than just the transaction. So I think, was there anything else that y'all
There was
brought?
under that sub bullet, the second sub bullet of that last line, giving the employee the chance to respond to information. So just to kind of expand on that, this may include giving them time to go and collect information,
Yes.
supporting documentation.
Yes.
Because in some cases you got to go dig through some emails to find that supporting information and say, look, this is what this person actually told me.
Yeah.
And I was operating under this understanding.
Yes.
So those
and I think it kind of goes with the first bullet, which is if you know what the purpose of the meeting is, you might know I need to bring those emails. Right? But yeah, it's sort of, yes, that's 2 layers on there.
I think this could reduce lawsuits.
Yeah.
And lawyers.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I would think.
Yeah.
And grievances.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that was the input we got from SAC Senate, Faculty Senate. I'm really happy that you shared that with us, that you felt like you could share it, bring it. We were happy to receive it, happy to work on it. I didn't have any resistance on my team, but they did want to talk about, some further, what else can we start doing? Because as you mentioned, we had already committed back in the fall to moving to restorative practice rather than what I was saying, which is that kind of old school transactional personnel, hit you with the rule book process. We want to restore relationships and clarify what should be going on in the workplace, not, writing people up and running them off. So in that frame is what we were thinking. And one of the things we said was that's really been working against us over the course of the fall is we've had a lot of people start talking about our work as investigations. And we're not the police. We're not investigators. We're not the enforcers. We want to be here to help people work well together. And when you say to an employee, come on in, we're doing an investigation, that's pretty intimidating. That's pretty threatening. And I hear leaders around the college district saying, well, it's an HR investigation, or HR is investigating, or I'm going to tell HR to investigate. And there's 2 kinds of investigations we do. We do civil rights, Title IX investigations, Title VII, harassment, bullying. It's all under the civil rights procedure, and it's a very structured, prescribed process. And it requires 2 investigators investigators, and one asks questions and one takes notes and they write a report. It's
Oh, really?
very formal. The other kind of investigation that we do is 9 times out of 10 with internal audit. And it's an investigation of fraud, theft, misappropriation. We just finished one. And normally those are under the radar, but the employees are informed. We're investigating possible misappropriation or, misuse of resources or whatever. So those are really the only times that we talk about investigating. And it felt like, we're kind of getting pulled into thinking about work that way, and we don't want to. So what we've committed to each other is we're not going to refer our work that way unless it is an investigation, and then the employee deserves to know, that's what this is. But we're going to have to probably do some correcting with others so that they don't kind of mischaracterize our work. As we're trying to move towards restorative, we don't need other people pulling us into police work. Were you raising your hand, or were you just?
No, no, I was not stretching. Yeah, our previous administration loved that word investigation.
Yeah.
They threw it around everywhere, and it is very frightening.
Yeah.
And this transparency was not involved, but that was also part of their strategy.
Yes. Thank you.
Is
Thank
to
you.
keep the information from you, so you can self-incriminate yourself.
Yeah.
And also, Linda, my question is, can we ensure that there is an HR employee involved with the questioning, or at least in the room?
Yes, absolutely.
Because I would have thought that was a no-brainer,
but
that doesn't always happen.
And I hear that doesn't always happen.
Which is
and
crazy.
I think it should. Unless it might be internal audit doing something. Sometimes they do investigation, but they don't do that many. I mean,
that's what I always.
They're sort of legit when they show up.
Right. When I was chair, and I mean, it got to be a serious enough issue. Having one of your team members there with me was really reassuring.
Yeah.
And gave me some great guidance.
Yeah.
But I know that when it got to the VP or president level, that was not the way it was done.
Okay. I think that you've talked about, or somebody was asking about where are some things written down, and I think we're sort of narrowing in to a place where we need to get some things written down.
Yeah.
And that's a great point. Is when should HR be there? They should be there always, but if they're not, when is it required that they're there?
No, there's different levels
Yeah.
of the process. At
Yeah.
what level should there
Yeah.
always be someone?
Yeah, I think people, typically what supervisors say to me is, I'll issue a coaching or something, and I'll go talk to the partner and I'll issue it myself. But when I get to a higher level, then I'll call HR to come sit in. But it's probably, you're saying, Jeff, it's really all levels.
It would. And also, supervisors are different. So
They are.
where they don't think the issue is that big of a deal, or I don't know,
Yeah. We would prefer to be there.
I think, yes, the
Yeah.
district would
Yeah.
prefer that.
We hear about a lot of stuff after the fact that has to be, cleaned up.
One of the things that we could potentially use as sort of a guidepost is that the STEPS discipline rubric for anything that falls under like step something or higher, there has to be an HR person present.
And I want to say it already says that, but it's a long laborious document to read, so we'll have to take a look at it. And whatever we end up with here, what you've already given us is going into new supervisor orientation, which we just recently restarted to get everybody through it again.
That was one of the things we had talked about, how a lot of what's happening is sort of a fundamental misunderstanding of where HR's role is in regards to administration, faculty, or staff.
Yes.
And when HR is being pulled in and just understanding that role at all levels. And so
Right.
training for our supervisors is hopefully going to help
It's
clarify
going to
that.
help. We always have more and more new supervisors, so it's a just like you have more and more students. It's just when you get them all trained, they leave and you have to do somebody else. But yeah,
I was just gonna ask, since we're talking about the word investigation not being effective, I think the word discipline, since you brought up progressive discipline, I think that word needs to go out too. Because the implication there is, Jeff, you did something wrong, now we're going to tell you your punishment. Discipline is associated with punishment.
Sure.
And if we're working on relationships and restoring them, I don't know
Yeah.
what the substitute word is, maybe people in
Yeah.
English have
Yeah.
suggestions,
Yeah.
but I think,
Realignment, readjustment.
that's a good
yeah,
word.
Progressive
realignment,
improvements.
readjustment, something that
Behavioral
doesn't
improvement.
that doesn't sound punitive.
Right.
Because discipline sounds like you're already in trouble, you just don't know what step you're in trouble at.
Yeah.
To be fair, there are some things where
Sure,
it does require
Yeah.
some kind of
for sure.
Discipline. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
If you're
true.
sexually harassing somebody and it's
Right.
proven, yeah. It's not going to be called something nice.
Yeah, for sure.
No,
for
it's
sure.
not.
I mean, it's just
No,
not, right?
Thank you for bringing that up. I've heard a lot of cases where it's faculty saying that VP, that president thinks I insulted them. And
Yeah.
they're the insubordination one is the
Oh,
one where
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
we really need to think about whether the word
Yeah.
discipline is effective,
Uh-huh.
because sometimes it's like, that's not what I meant. Why are you calling me in? Like,
Yes.
you're
Yes.
misinterpreting my words.
Understood. Yeah, I heard that one recently too. Yeah.
Connected with what Lisa brought up is that there is a perception amongst faculty that college administration is using HR against the employee. And so clarifying roles
Yeah. Thank you.
that HR has.
I will,
That's really important, and it's I've seen it probably everywhere I've worked, but I see it a lot at Alamo. We get characterized as some administrator's best friend, or I mean, it's like it's cultivated. It's at times in years past I've had to pull in Roberto and Ed and say, that administrator is telling their employees that you're all best friends, and those employees won't come to HR because they don't. It's a cultivated misperception to kind of control people, and
It is.
yeah.
That's exactly
But that could be something that we could work on also, is
Well,
clarifying
and the
our
perception
role.
becomes that our administration has more power than all of HR. And is that true?
I don't know. I'm just thinking about the way you said that. I don't know.
Because that is the
Yeah,
way
yeah,
the last
yeah,
administration
yeah.
sold it to us.
Yes.
And it was
I
like,
know that.
wow, so you don't really have to follow the rules.
That's
And you can just
I don't
take
know
out
if it's a
HR.
question of who has more power, but what are the rules? And who do they apply? They apply to everybody.
Right.
and I will
Yeah.
add that in the conversation we recently had with Dr. Incones, one of the things that came out of it was that having that HR representative there and that meeting that was had with the faculty member
Mhm.
helped with understanding the faculty member's point of view, helped with
Yeah.
understanding.
Yeah.
And
Just to have another set of ears that's more balanced, or well,
so
I mean, you're a third, you're more of a neutral third party. Yes.
and it's also like guide rails almost.
Yeah.
To make sure
Yeah.
that we're not veering off too far in one
Right.
direction.
Yeah.
And staying on a path that is not overbearing in one direction or the other. Appropriate levels of course correction.
Yeah.
So
Good. That's all good input. The words matter. Understanding the roles matters. I'm going to jump to restorative practice, and then I'll bounce back to
Yes,
rounding. But the restorative practice, we've got a group that we're talking to. We're trying to finalize a contract with them, and they do a lot of work with communities. They do a lot of work with K-12. where it seems like this restorative practice and the circles and everything is just really, it's really been immensely successful and helpful. And they use it with faculty in K-12 to resolve issues in their workplace.
Can we know the name of this group? Just
Yeah,
because
I'm
it was
going. I know. I'm just like a couple of days away from finalizing their contract, and I want to do that first before I put their name out there and, you know, unleash the world. But I'm confident you're going to like them. We found them last year, and that's how we got on our kind of goal for 2024 for restorative practice. We went to some sessions and that they were conducting, and they were just so incredibly good. And most of the room was K-12 counselors, administrators, teachers, and us. But it was, I mean, it was so bright. The principles are so bright for what we want to do, and we got a lot of high school students with us anyway. I will say they do work with Travis. They do a lot of work with Travis. So I'm going to tell you
I
who
don't
they
know if
are.
I'm allowed to ask, but can I ask,
Yeah.
are they lawyers, psychologists?
No. They're not lawyers. They're not HR people. They are. Their backgrounds are really interesting.
Okay.
But I would say they're more on the counseling,
Okay. Yeah.
more on the counseling side than anything else. So I think that kind of, you know, makes the frame for us, and it does. I think they're going to be able to help us with our language, because what they said is, and you'll like this, Liz, the first thing we have to do is we got to get our language down before we can, you know, get anywhere with restoring relationships. You're Liz, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Good to see you. Yeah. And I think, you know, what I said to them is in their contract, I want them to do some really focus group work with my team right away, so that we start getting to a place where we can support what they're trying to help us learn, you know, institution wide. And what they have said is then, yes, we have to work with leadership. They have to get it. They have to go here. And then we need to spread wide to faculty, staff, and really bring people on board, not require it. We're not going to force people into training and let them be, you know, negative, but bring people on as they're ready to learn how to work this way. And I think, to me, it sounds like something we can use not just in our work relationships, but we might use it in our classrooms. We might use it in our personal lives. It's how do we have better relationships with people? So my team's committed. They want to, and I think the words, you know, that you're bringing your words, people. Yes, that's really important. And I think they may have some words that they've seen or that they use that we could leverage and kind of start recrafting. I mean, I've always wanted our policies to read in plain English. You know, they just read the progressive discipline policy.
Right.
And if you like that, read the civil rights policy.
Oh.
But they need to be rewritten at some point with kind of a different mindset on what are they for, but also just the language needs to be, I think, made accessible for people who really need to use those policies. They're just not. We get really lawyerly. We all get super lawyerly when we start sitting down to write something we think is going to be a policy. Suddenly we're doing whereas and
Yep,
shalls.
sure.
We debate shalls versus may, and you know,
We do
we would like to go to a different place and start. It's going to take time. I mean, that's a real culture shift.
it's
But I think,
something we can start
yeah,
doing now.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I think that's good. We do have a question in the chat. Kim, did you want to?
Yeah, I think this is good news about the language changing. And just as you were speaking, I began to pull up Forbes and Harvard Business Review and things that are being said about progressive discipline.
Yeah.
It's a holdover from the Henry Ford era, and it needs to go
Right.
extinct. And
Right.
Harvard says that few systems in American organizations seem more accepted and less productive than the old line progressive discipline. So it's dated.
Yeah.
And the question is, will it go away? Could it go away with this investigation? I'm using that word, I shouldn't. But is there a possibility to remove progressive disciplines? Because it's been abused at SAC. I have faculty who have gone into meetings with multiple administrators and they've been slapped with a third level and been forced to sign. They said no, and people signed for them against their will. So it's just been really a scary time at SAC with this progressive discipline, and some of the folks. Did it cut off?
Can you unmute and then?
All right.
There we go.
I'm taking over now.
Okay, I will space here. Sorry about that.
Hi, Kim.
Hi, Linda.
Nice to see you. Good to see you. I think where you're going now is that's deep change, right?
Mhm.
I think we wouldn't start by saying we're going to toss this until we know where we're going,
Mhm.
and replace it with. But I think there are a lot of practice points and features that we can use now that will make things work better, and be more satisfying for everybody. Because I mean, when I talk to a lot of supervisors or, they don't like doing this either. It's not really working for them. Surprising as that might seem, it's not always great for everybody. And so I have a full team. I have one more HR partner, but I think we got that job accepted. We were really short for a while, but we've got a full team. We've got some really great people on board, that have a lot of new perspectives. And so I think everybody's willing to kind of shift and learn and grow and try some new directions here. So your comments were really timely. And I think they were really well intended, and we are taking them that way. The last thing I wanted to touch on was the rounding. We sort of think that sometimes rounding gets misused. That's the word, gets misused. But it's a very specific practice. We've taught sessions a number of times over the years on how to round and what is it for. And it's really a very short conversation. It's very focused, 3 questions, it's one-on-one, so that I can connect with you and get firsthand information about what's really going on today. We did that. We picked it up as a team in my shop during the pandemic, because we were just worried that employees were home. Maybe things weren't going well for them at all. Maybe they were by themselves. And in fact, we found that, they didn't have the equipment they needed. They were home for 6 months, with nobody else in the house. It was like, there were a lot of, unfortunate things we found, and the more we rounded, the more we could resolve issues like that for them. And we kind of drifted away after the pandemic. We lost a little bit of staffing. We couldn't keep up with the calls we were doing during the pandemic. We had 10 people and they were each doing 10 calls a day. So we were hitting close to 100 employees every day across the college district. And the stuff that we found was really timely and important, and we could take it forward, to get some resources for employees that needed that during COVID. I mean, the winter storm, we were able to get resources right away because we had the backup communications from employees. We started it this week, and the first day, it was so interesting. I had been hearing, and somebody had been asking me, I had been hearing we were out of work study and we couldn't hire anyone. Did you hear it?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm like, it's January. How could we be out of work study money? I've got temps that I brought on board to get the work study students started quickly. And what the heck is going on? So I took it to Dr. Cleary, who's over financial aid right now. And he says, well, I don't know anything about that. I said, well, check. And he kept saying, is the word out there? I said, I think it is. But it came up in rounding. I had 3 comments that day in rounding that I could show him. And I said, yes, it's real. They have been told they can't hire any more work studies because we're out of money. I rest my case. So he was able to turn that. I don't know if you got the memo yesterday. A memo went out yesterday that said, actually, we do have money.
Yeah.
But it's, it's like real time, real issues that we can resolve through rounding when they're super small. Before I was ready to send away the resources we had to bring on more work studies because I thought, I can't pay for that if we're not going to place anybody, but
Yeah, we were just told during our department meeting last week that we could hire work studies to keep our tutoring spaces open.
yeah. So yes, one of the comments I got was from tutoring, which helped turn it around. So good deal. So what we thought we would do this time though is we would round a little bit on our own campus, but we round on the other campuses so that there's a more diverse set of ears and perspectives listening to employees at SAC and Palo Alto. And here you get to the point where everybody knows you and they tell you the same thing, or you think they're telling you the same thing and you're not really tuning in on it. So we're going to rotate. You might get a call from somebody from HR that you've not talked to before. They're not looking to get anybody in trouble. That's like the number one thing we've had to deal with over and over again is when we call people, they're afraid. They're sort of afraid to answer the phone. But after a while, they realized that we're just trying to get input and take it forward for action. So we're going to go back to that. And I know some folks may be doing rounding in other ways, other styles, big long meetings, things like that. That's, in our opinion, that's not really what rounding is or what it's for, but we're going to go with the classic short 3-question. If you've got a serious issue, we can schedule an appointment time for you and deal with it. But we need to make a lot of calls and hear district-wide today what's going on everywhere. What do we need to work on like right now?
Thank you. I really thank you for hearing us out on these issues. And I appreciate the work that your team is putting into making these adjustments.
Good.
I know it's not easy work.
Well,
and a lot
that's good. This is a good change for us.
A lot
This is
of
good.
times we tend to get into this mindset of there's nothing we can do to change the system because the system is just so big. But
Right.
like this, I think, is a good example of how we can affect change. And it's not always going to be a broad sweeping change, but we're pushing in the right direction.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
It's, you and I were talking about some babies. It's, you make a few strategic baby steps and things start shifting. Yeah.
I just have one follow-up question, Dr. Fuller. I apologize for the delay of my entry.
It's okay.
In reference to what you just mentioned, and perhaps you restated it, with the HR neutrality, trying to maintain the HR prep as neutral as possible, are you going to be double checking that will happen? Because I know that when that situation personally in my case, the gentleman was not neutral at all,
Right.
but he also provided information in the folder. And I was privy to an email thread coming from, the attorney to you, to several other people, up to him. And that was part of the paper. I know that that was a delicate matter. It was
Right.
information
Yeah,
that
yeah,
I should not have been privy to, but it was included for the people that I was having to read. So I didn't raise that to the gentleman at that point because I'm assuming he was doing this job and he wanted me to read. This was coming from such and such person and the direction that was. And I just think that sometimes you're trusting you as a supervisor, trusting them to do their job.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't know what the situation was, why he placed them, because it showed your name, showed several other individuals' names, and why did I? That just made it.
Yeah.
I
I don't remember exactly what it was.
Situation.
Yeah.
So I just
Yeah.
just wanted to find out how you were going to be able to double check.
I
That
think,
neutrality is
yeah,
important.
I think that part of it for my team is they need regular reminders that we're in the neutral role. And they need, I think, regular reinforcement that they can be in the neutral role. One of the things that was good about when we were rounding, we were meeting monthly with the chancellor to give him high level, these are the trends and things we're seeing that are really, y'all need to pay attention to these. Here are some recommendations, but having him reinforce that their job is the neutral person and reinforcing, yes, and when we're meeting with senior leadership, I mean, we have to often clarify that that's our role. But I think my folks on the ground, it's a really delicate balance. You want to serve all your customers at a college. You want to have good relationships at all levels in the college. And everybody wants you to be theirs.
Yes.
And it's kind of a tightrope.
One thing that I remember having started in 1995, but I remember when orientation with Elisa, when she conducted she was the HR person. And those years that she was, and I'm not going to say, one supervisor is better than another, but those trainings that she did, the collaboration that she thought was effective. Because I knew what was happening with each other. I mean, we were connected as faculty, we were connected. To each other. And we knew what changes, what updates had to be made. So I don't know who, I think everyone that took her is practically already left district, unfortunately, but, and of course she retired a long time ago, but I think that was a great example of leadership and also communication. Was that? She was never, I mean, it never belittled anyone. It gathered everyone. We all joined in, and it was just several years of just effective communication. I just thought I'd share.
Thank you. That wasn't Elisa Hernandez, was it? Or
It was Elisa.
Elisa, yeah. I'll have to check and see who that was. Yeah, but the communication, the more regular, yeah, the sessions, I think,
And
with,
everyone knew.
with
everyone knew
employees and,
Who their rep
Yeah,
was.
yeah,
And the
yeah.
rep was connected to. the
Mhm,
faculty.
mhm,
Whereas sometimes you'll have some faculty members who have no idea as to who the HR rep is.
Yeah, yeah,
Hi, I'm Patricia Gonzalez, citation in the Department of English and
Okay.
Humanities. And in August, we had, I think it was a meet and greet with Dr. Lugonis. And at that meeting, I don't know which entity came forward and said, our deans have these new titles.
Mhm.
And the titles, does anybody remember what those titles were? They were really kind of long and more institutional and a little bit vague, because then after that, a couple of people said, you know, I need to talk to my dean. Who's my dean?
Mhm.
Because I said, no, now they just told us they're called this and that. And they said, but which one's the dean of arts and sciences? And so we were wondering, you know, again, going along with preventing a divide between faculty
Mhm.
and administration or confusion with terms.
yeah, yeah,
Could the naming remain more clear and accessible
uh-huh,
if that's possible?
that's a great, yeah. I remember that they did some work, and I think it was all the colleges worked together on dean titles, and dean job descriptions. And you're right, they did get long, and they're not sticking with me yet, yeah.
I was even talking to
Yeah.
one of my colleagues in my office, and he said, you know,
Yeah.
which one's Darby? And I, you know, we used to know that because
Yeah.
that was their
Yeah,
name,
yeah,
but
yeah. We lost a lot of communication. We lost a lot of, I think, clarity
yes.
when we were all remote, and it's been hard to get back to all of those understandings that we had and those processes we had to keep it clear. I mean, that's like a perfect rounding comment. Is I don't know anymore who my dean is. Things changed and I don't know. I'll take it back as a rounding comment, but
Thank you.
Yeah,
That was also
yeah, yeah.
one of the issues. I'm
Uh-huh.
on the workplace climate,
yeah.
and our team is supportive communication, and that was
Uh-huh.
one of the issues we
Yeah.
discussed. It would be much clearer if we just had their names identified,
Right.
who they are.
Yeah, yeah, good point.
Thank you so much,
That's
Linda.
so
Did you have any other questions from the Zoom?
Did you have pictures?
I don't
I
see any hands up, so, one more.
One more thing that you should be aware, it could fall in your lap someday.
Okay.
Being our program or discipline coordinators,
Uh-huh,
I think it's very unclear what their duties are, what their job is. And you will find that it's different at every college, and even across the same college.
do they have a separate job description?
I do
don't
not
think-
know,
I
but if they
I'm
don't
not sure that
create
they
one,
do.
if someone doesn't create
Yeah.
one,
They're not even called coordinators at some campuses. They're
Right.
called discipline
that's
teams.
right.
And
Yeah.
I don't even know if those are equivalent.
And I know at SAC, there is more of a push to give more of the chair duties to those coordinators.
Okay,
And so now it's a faculty member who's not a supervisor,
yeah.
but they are pushing supervisory things to these coordinators. And I think most coordinators are like, no, it's not my job. I've not been trained. But that seems to be the direction. And I think the chairs need to own what their job is.
Okay.
And I'm not seeing that so much anymore in SAC.
We can look
Because
at.
the
look at-
chairs are no longer faculty.
Yeah, and there are, you're right, I know there are several different types out there. And several different roles, and some of it, I think, revolves around, is it career and technical, or is it other, but I think a lot of it's emerged also as a kind of combined more disciplines under
Yes.
one chair than you need.
what
Yeah.
they tell me is that, well, now we need program coordinators or discipline coordinators who really know the discipline, but then, yes, what is the expectation for
exactly.
that
I
person
think
beyond
there's a
the
lot of
discipline?
creep that's
Yeah.
going
Okay.
on, and
Oh, that's interesting.
I can really see a grievance issue, and then the coordinator is stuck holding the ball when they really shouldn't be.
Yeah. Okay,
Because I think there are new chairs that are not
Mhm.
faculty. They go,
yeah,
what? I'm not the manager. What? I have to manage these people? I have to,
yeah,
and they don't really get it.
yeah,
So I'm really concerned, I guess,
Okay.
more about the chairs and
Yeah.
about the coordinators. And I don't really think that that's very clear. And then you go and talk to the other, other departments or other colleges, and it's very different. And
yeah,
I just think
yeah,
that could be a
yeah,
potential
yeah.
HR nightmare.
yeah, yeah, and it's gotta be confusing for the faculty too.
It is confusing
Right,
for the
right,
faculty
right,
as well.
But that, I mean, that's something that
My new chair
correctable,
was
right?
telling
Yeah,
this, the
uh-huh,
coordinators,
yeah.
that the staff, that they were in charge of the staff.
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh, no,
Hmm.
you are not a supervisor. That's his job. So they kind of had a meeting with them and said, that's your job. But so I think there's some real. Here.
Okay.
Was there a question?
Is there somebody? Is that you, Kim?
That might have just been a hot mic.
No, no.
Go ahead.
So, yeah,
I think are we good? Well, I can come back again someday.
Thank you.
Work up another load of questions. I appreciate your time.
That's great.
and your
Thank
input.
you.
Oh, yes.
Thank you, Linda.
Yeah. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is that Linda?
Yeah.
Hi, Linda. Recognize her little square. Good weekend.
you too.
Have a good one.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for participating. I think this is gonna go in a good direction. So that went a bit longer than I anticipated. So we're gonna keep the rest of the updates as short as possible. Thank you again. So we do have some feedback from Dr. Nidin and Dr. Rincones regarding the statement that we gave them back in December. Some of the comments were about concerns about the accuracy of the narrative. In one case, Dr. Rincones asked about the mention of step 3, and she was adamant that she had never said step 3. That might be something that was an interpretation, and we probably should look into that. It is possible that if we do agree to make any amendments, that it be done as an addendum, but at the same time, that would have to be something that we agree to. We are not required to change the statement. We already issued it. Right.
It's a final draft of the resolution.
Right.
So that, I'm just, the people who were, I don't want to use the word investigated, but I mean, we kind of did, right? They should not have a say in submitting the document. I
Right.
spent all those hours and did all the research for them to come in and for us to do their bidding. If somebody wants to add addendum, say yes, but, or issue a new resolution, what? How do you let the person who committed the wrong action change it unless she has evidence that she never said that? But
Right.
Jeff, you just made a comment to me.
I said, didn't someone, the administrator, say insubordination to them?
That's step 3.
And isn't that step 3 or step 4?
Right.
Step 3.
It's
Yeah.
a step 3.
So she didn't say step 3,
Right.
but that's what the step would be.
Now, if it's her lack of knowledge, that's not our
Mm-hmm.
And can they just be allowed to submit a response to us?
That I think would be appropriate. We could hear a response from them and right. But we are not obligated to change the resolution. We're not obligated to. If we wanted to make an amendment to make any corrections, if we see that there is need for that, then that's a different matter. I do think that the more we pick at this, the worse it's gonna get. So
That's often strategy to drag things out until and I don't want to see that happen here. It's a theory. I don't have any evidence for that, but it's making me very uncomfortable.
And I am in talks with Linda Boyer Owens about setting up meetings with our administration and the organizing committee to try and bring a discussion together to see if there's some kind of if that in some way satisfies some of the asks that we have made of them in terms of issuing an apology, in terms of ensuring that they clarify their understanding of how to use HR and academic freedom. And really that's what we're looking for. We're looking for them to affirm that they know the correct course of action to pursue now, and that what they've done in this matter has caused faculty a lot of grief. And we need to acknowledge that, and then we need to assure everyone that it's not going to happen again. So
I could just give my 2 cents worth. For one, we're never gonna get that.
No, because I have
insurance.
stuff to
And
do.
then
I'm
secondly,
doing stuff. I don't have time to sit down and look at TV.
all right, 1 second. There's
Yeah.
some open mics.
yeah, this is I just wanted to my 2 cents worth, but we're not gonna win this. And asking for an apology, that is just so bad. I mean, I worked over 40 years with San Antonio College, the district, St. Philip's, offline with Department of Defense. They're never gonna admit that, and we're just, being a dead horse. I mean, can't we just move on and not get into this pickle again? Because administration, they can do whatever they want. They can take it to the highest level immediately. They don't have to go through the steps. If they feel that you are so arrogant and you are defying them, then yeah, that's grounds for dismissal right away. It goes up that level. And they've said it to us before at board meetings, at college meetings that we used to have those convocations at the beginning. All of that, they've made it quite clear that, what they say. And most of us were not there in person. If we were there in person, then that's totally different. If there was recordings of, there's no solid proof. It's just hearsay. She said, he said, they said, she said. Oh, we just need to move on. My 2 cents.
So let me turn this so that you can hear the responses better from the rest of the room. Lisa?
Just a response. I hear you. I value your experience. I appreciate your perspective. But I'm new to the Senate, and I understood the role of the Senate was to be, in one part, to hold accountable those we work with, to make sure the relationships we have, whether with administrators, students, staff, are working in an effective, collaborative way. So the framework you've set up makes it sound like we have no power. And I mean, can somebody clarify for me, is that true? Does Faculty Senate not have the ability to hold administrators accountable? Because then all this work we did was for naught.
We are guided by the principles of shared governance.
Shared governance, okay.
Yes.
We do have some input. Okay, thank you.
I'd like to say something. I think that by, putting somebody in a corner, whatever side is putting the other person in the corner or whatever faction in a corner is not a good idea. I have to agree with Dee on that. I think it is important to be respectful. I think it's important that we are respectful. I think that we need to put it in perspective and not get carried away with, well, why was wronged and they did this and they did that. I mean, if in the end, really what you want is a meeting of the minds, then I think that's how we need to approach it, is to have a meeting of the minds, to say, well, we feel there was an injustice here, or we feel that this happened, and then see what the perspectives were, see where the malalignment was, and then actually come together and have a communication. Because otherwise, if it's adversarial, which it would appear that's what's happening, then it's just going to escalate and we're not going to get anywhere. That's just my own personal opinion.
I guess I'm not seeing the adversarial, because so many people had a hand in the resolution and, change the language. And I think that was important that this be collaborative, but I don't want to be the only one speaking because I know other people have perspective. I respect your perspective, Linda. I understand you have your own experiences here. So just thank you for sharing. I'll let other people share their perspectives.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I just want to chime in here. Both Linda and Dee, I respect your viewpoints because I've worked with both of you on committee work in the past. So I know the type of work that both of you do. But I know that as a faculty senate, the faculty senate is a voice of the faculty. And it's difficult when a faculty member has encountered a situation, an unfortunate situation, unfortunately, where it becomes something in which the faculty member feels alone and is not supported by whether it be the administration or whether it be other faculty, whomever it is. The key is that if that faculty member has to undergo some difficult situation, which none of us would ever want to be in that place or in that case, but unfortunately, some of us have been. And it is a difficult situation because you feel as if you don't want another faculty member to go through what you've experienced.
That's right.
And I'm speaking personally. And I even have raised this, and I raised it to I raised this point. I'm over here using my incorrect verb tense. I raised this point to our chancellor and to the board, and I can say that. I said, I don't want a faculty member to ever experience what I have experienced. So I verbally told them, and this is why I respect the faculty senate and the work that the senate does, because together we're one voice that represents, all of our faculty colleagues across our campus. And I do think that great leaders will acknowledge when they make mistakes.
Amen.
And they become stronger leaders. I respect those leaders that can say, this didn't work out, but we're gonna make this work. That's the type of leadership that I remember coming into SAC and seeing when I started. So
I've never seen, I'm so sorry to jump in, President Ziegler before him, all the other presidents, President Reynolds, and Phillips, nobody has ever said anything like that.
So can I jump in as parliamentarian?
Oh, sorry.
We really shouldn't have discussion unless there's a motion on the table. And so if someone would like, if we feel like there is a need for a motion, someone can make that and then we can discuss it. But right now we're at a point where we're just hashing out a resolution that's already been voted on and gone to administration. they're not thrilled with maybe everything in it, is there a motion that someone wants to make around how to deal with their unhappiness with parts of the resolution?
And this is where I suppose I could actually frame this as a motion. Do we want to consider an addendum to the resolution? After speaking with administration to hear more about their perspective.
What is the addendum though? Like,
it would be a separate document that attaches to it.
I guess I'm asking like, what is Dr. Rincones? What is she proposing? Is she saying, I'm gonna bring in evidence that I never said insubordination in step 3, and so we're just adding it in there so that her evidence is there? Like, I guess that's what's actually, what are the things going into the addendum is what I want.
Okay, so let's do this. This is practice for us.
Yeah.
So make a motion if you want to, make a motion in the affirmative. I move that we make an addendum that says that whatever.
Okay. So I move that we draft an amendment, an addendum to the resolution from December 20th. After hearing more insight from the administrators involved at our next Senate meeting.
That has to be second before it can go forward.
What if you want to challenge?
Yeah,
something?
just don't second it right now.
If someone has to second it before we can then move forward with the discussion.
And if no one seconds, then
It does.
that's fine.
Do you see anything?
There's no second.
Sorry, Jen, can you repeat it?
So the motion is to draft an addendum to the December 20th resolution. Forgot what I said. After hearing input from the administration at our next Senate meeting.
Is there a second?
Is that?
No,
that was from earlier.
Hearing no second, the motion fails.
Okay, the motion fails. Okay, so to be honest, I do feel that Senate has done its diligence in this matter, and we've set up an avenue for reconciliation. We may still be, the administration may still request guidance from us in terms of how to address this reconciliation, but at this point, I think any further involvement with us in this matter is going to be delegated to the meeting involving the committee and administration once those meetings with HR happen. Okay. Yes.
Julie, I do want to be respectful of Dr. Rincones, and if she's adamant that she didn't say step 3, is there a way to, is there another way?
Present that as a motion.
Okay,
I
so
move that.
We, I don't know what I'm moving to. I move that we.
You allow them to respond in written form, or?
I don't want, I guess, can I say what I'm thinking before I move? Because I'm not even sure how to do it.
Well, maybe what we can do.
I don't want there to be anything incorrect in the resolution. So that's what concerns me, right?
So maybe what we can do is they can still come to the meeting. We can't stop them from coming to the meeting.
Of course, yeah.
So maybe once we do hear them, then we consider whether or not we want to make that kind of motion. And just
Yeah.
listen,
Okay.
and then we'll decide.
Yeah.
We don't have to decide right now.
Okay.
We don't. Okay, so yes, and again, I do feel like the work that has been done here was necessary, and we've fulfilled our role, and we'll continue to do the best we can to continue fulfilling our role in voicing the concerns of the faculty.
Next up, the SOBI and campus security updates. So I have not heard anything since, I think, October, about the new system that they were testing out. It's a phone app that they wanted to have people put on their phones so that if you were walking to your car and you didn't feel safe, you could set a timer on your phone and it would let the campus PD know where you were, and it had all these different buttons for different levels of concern. And it looked really good. It looked like a really good system. But I haven't heard anything since October, and I think part of that might be because of the events that superseded that. So I will still keep my ear to the ground for any updates on that. Concerning SOBI, Ida Lomas has been making rounds to present to different disciplines. She stopped by the natural sciences most recently to sort of clarify the SOBI process and some of the things that go on that we don't necessarily notice. And it was actually pretty illuminating to hear that while they can't really disclose what sort of repercussions students face all the time, they have had cases where they expel the student entirely. They have had cases where the student has been barred from ever entering the campus again. So it's not that they're not doing these things. It's just they have to be very careful when they do, and they can't always tell us when they do. But one of the asks that have been coming out of these meetings is to give at least as much communication as is possible, because from the faculty perspective, it's very frustrating to feel like you're submitting all of these SOBI reports and these noms, and nothing's happening from your perspective. You're not hearing anything going on. But the assurance that we're getting is that as soon as one of those reports hits her desk, it's getting looked at by a team of folks, including the Title IX office, including the Advocacy Center, student conduct. So all of them form a task force that looks at these cases. So your departments may be getting one of those meetings soon. So please be on the lookout for those and attend. Encourage your faculty to attend. Was there anything else to include on that? Yeah. Okay. Next, for the faculty service hours updates, again, Dr. Inconis asked for a task force. We have 2 people already who have agreed to start working on this task force. And I sincerely appreciate those of you who have taken this up. I will do my best to help facilitate any crosstalk we need with our sister campuses through the UFS. There is one more thing that I wanted to touch on for the SOBI item. So back to number 2. So this reminded me of it. When in doubt, go ahead and file the report, file the SOBI, file the Title IX, and especially file Title IXs, because we are mandatory reporters. And one of the recent things to come out of one of our sister campuses was a college-wide meeting where their Title IX director indicated that on the closeout form, if a faculty member fails to report, there are 2 checkboxes. Was the faculty member fired, or did they resign? It is that serious of an issue. So we have an obligation to report in cases of sexual assault, sexual harassment. We have to report. Even if you think that they might be exaggerating, doesn't matter. File the report. And then I think that's all for now on those 3 items. So we'll keep moving things along. Mercedes?
No new reports, but I'm kind of doing the VP secretary gig for now. Some reminders that we are all expected to attend a Board of Trustee meeting. And we do need faculty senators to attend March and April. There's 3 spots that are still needed for those. And we need 3 more faculty for the Promotion Appeals Committee.
Karen Douglas, I believe, has volunteered to be on that committee. So thank you, Karen. We'll be adding your name to that. And
no problem.
All right. And yes, please do sign up to attend one of the Board of Trustees meetings. Again, this is something that we rotate out as an obligation for all senators to make sure that we don't have one person having to go to every single meeting. Okay, and finally, our election for secretary. So for the nominees,
just Isabel so far.
It's just Isabel who has put her name in the hat. Are there any other folks who would like to run for the secretary position?
I'd be happy to have an opponent.
She's ready.
We're already voting.
You have your speech ready? I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I move we close nominations.
I think we do still need to have a vote, even if it is uncontested. So
you set up a poll really quick.
I think I can do that. I can set up a quick. Actually, I don't know how to do that from here. There it is.
I don't know.
Polls. We'll add a poll. Nope, that's not how you spell it. Choice 1. I think you do have to have 2 choices for the whole structure, so other? I don't know.
Sure.
Or abstain. We'll just say abstain. How do I make this anonymous? Can we make this? There we go. Require answer to be anonymous. Okay, so we are launching the poll.
For people who want to ground. And raise our hand.
We can do a show of hands.
Okay.
All in favor for Isabel?
Isabel.
There's 8 of us in here.
Okay. And we have just about everybody participating on this. Oh, do we have to? We don't get enough.
We don't get an option now.
Oh, Karen, did you have a question?
No, I was just I was just voting.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll. We have 10 out of the 11 participated in favor of Isabel. Congratulations.
Thank you so much for your faith. I'll try not to misspell too many words.
You'll do better than I would have.
We've got you. I'll help.
Okay, so those are the big items taken care of. We do have a few other items down the list. We'll try and go as quick as possible. For Adjunct Faculty Council updates, Amanda Martin.
Hi, everyone. Keep it very simple because we're still setting up our first meeting for this semester. We got a few potential proposals we're looking at. We're working on the draft for the handbook and material. And those are our top priorities this semester. So next time I'll let you know any progress on any of those things that are important to progress here at Dissonant.
All right, thank you. Let's see, committee updates, curriculum committee. Jeff Bailey.
Hey.
Hi.
We have nothing to report. Nobody sent us any business.
Alrighty. Communication. Francis, how we doing? No. She might not be here yet. I don't see her in here. Is there,
we can talk about the concerns for well, advising concerns towards the end of the meeting.
Right.
Because they're so long.
okay, so
Let's skip to the
no report for now. Elections and surveys. Again, we've just held our secretary election. What other items do we have?
Hi, can y'all hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I think I'm gonna try this. So one thing that was brought to us was the idea of instead of doing mini Piper as we do it, and kind of replace it with a structure where faculty, basically a faculty of the year award. So it'd be kind of creating this. And then whoever wins the faculty of the year award would then have the option to apply for the mini Piper. And before we write anything new in the bylaws about this, I thought maybe we would vote on this as a Senate to see if that is the direction we want to go. But I'm really nervous about saying the right words.
Julie. So, the introduction of a motion, I move that. We can.
I move that we introduce a Faculty of the Year award, where the winner has the option to apply for the mini Piper.
Second.
All right. So discussion.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
What happened about NISOD awards? Do we ever nominate somebody for that, and that could also let them in to Piper?
That's a whole separate.
Yeah. Have we done nice on the last
I
year or
don't
two?
Seabrook Jones.
I got it.
We haven't done it in several years.
Yeah, I don't think
but-
we have, not in a while.
This was last year.
Yeah, but it was a crucial, critical one. I mean,
The deans would go to the chairs and ask who they would like to nominate. And then I believe it was the administration that would decide the 2 or 3 people that went to NISOD and that received it. So
Not a Senate.
So it's,
yeah, it's not a
that's
Senate
something
function.
we-
It's not a Senate function.
that's through admin.
Yeah.
I just got a letter that the interim president or VP had nominated me. That's how I found out.
Yeah.
Okay. So that would be a separate one, probably not something to couple that with the Piper award.
okay. Who was speaking that they were nominated?
That was me. I don't know where to move.
But you're not Ryan, it just says Ryan.
Oh, yeah. Lisa Ramos.
Lisa.
That was
Okay.
me, 2023.
Okay, thanks.
Welcome.
So, other discussion.
I just have a question. Who's going to create the requirements for this award? Maybe there needs to be a committee, or is it just going to be Megan?
I don't think we want to put that on one person.
I'm just kidding.
Thanks, Isabel.
Entire election committee.
Yeah,
I think that our committee would maybe draft something and ask for feedback along the way, but this would be effective. I think the idea is for it to be voted on and finalized so that it could start in the fall for next year. If it's voted on, if it's approved.
Right. Okay.
So something I like about this is it gives us the opportunity to recognize a faculty member without them having the pressure of the piper. Because most people who are asked, I did that committee, when they're asked, they're like, I don't have time for that application. I'm not gonna do that. No, thank you. But if it's something simple, you know, a one pager that we put out for a vote, and we can recognize faculty that way without the big commitment of the piper.
I agree.
May I ask for a point of clarification? So are we trying to get this Faculty of the Year award? Are we trying to choose that person like September 2024? Because with the piper, I think if we don't have that person chosen in September, that's not going to be enough time for them to prepare the application to Piper that's usually due in mid-November. So this would have to be like on roll, like the first or second, the Faculty of the Year award nominations, applications, and like first, second week of the fall semester, in my opinion.
Would potentially want to even have it initiate at the end of the spring.
That's what I was thinking.
Suggest to.
That would give more time to solicit nominations and
We have all summer and
What
Close
does
the
the
nomination.
Election and Surveys Committee think?
I know that would be very
Yeah,
short turnaround for
that's-
you.
That's the only issue.
How long, so what is the minimum amount of time? I'm going off a little bit, but what's the minimum amount of time that you would need to do the Piper application? Thoughtfully and.
I think 6 weeks, like
6
Joy
weeks.
says that is good, because
I thought 2 months.
yeah, 6 to 8 weeks, because before it
Okay.
was what, 2.5?
Right.
If that.
Okay.
Yeah, to give our faculty the best opportunity to showcase what they can do in front of the stage, I think having a larger window for them to put that packet together would be ideal. We might have something where, again, we start soliciting the nominations sort of towards the end of spring, and then over the summer, either we close the nominations and then have the selection early in August. And then that would potentially then give plenty of time, I think, for putting together an application if they wanted to.
Yeah, so the Piper application is usually due like November 15th, November 18th. So working back from that, if you want to do 6 or 8 weeks, I guess by mid-September, we need to know who is the Faculty of the Year award winner.
So
I think your motion is still good, just to know if this is something we want to do. And then we could have another motion about creating a timeline and an application process.
Okay. The timeline being for when the committee will have their final draft ready for final vote. Okay.
So like, this is just a vote that we do or don't agree that this is a good way to go.
So I do agree this is a good way to go.
Okay, so
Sorry.
if there's no more discussion, put it up for a vote.
Is there any more discussion to be had in the chats? Nothing in the chat. Okay, so we will now move to a vote to approve this motion. A show of hands, I think. All in favor, and
you can use the icons in Zoom, either a hand or a thumbs up. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Roomies forget accounting.
Oh, okay.
Zoomies, I haven't counted.
Okay.
I always forget how to do this.
It's fine. Okay, I only saw one that didn't have a hand up, so.
So it would be 10.
10?
All right, 9 zoomies, 10 zoomies, 9 roomies.
Okay. And I believe that is the majority, so the motion passes. So thank you.
So I'll move that, the Elections and Surveys Committee comes back to the full Senate with the application process or nomination process, and timeline within the next month or two.
Yeah, I would give them 2.
2 months.
I would give them 2.
Before spring break.
Yeah,
By
that's
spring break, perfect.
I
in
second.
the March meeting. Okay.
And Megan, I'd be happy if you need a framework to get you started, for you to go ahead and use the ACES nomination.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Great idea.
Did we
And
get a second?
We did.
Okay, that's right, Amanda just did. Okay, good.
And I also think, now I think about it, isn't there a recognition committee in the workplace climate transformation?
Yeah.
There's a whole committee all about recognition of faculty, and I think they would be ecstatic to help you out with that. But I think they do.
She's making fun.
So I'll see if I can reach out to them. I know that they are looking at both staff and faculty, I think. So we'll see if they want to help with that drafting.
That's where the golden armadillo was introduced at one of the workplace climate transformation climate.
Yeah, it was the last one.
And so the idea is that this golden armadillo travels from office to office, recognizing staff.
Oh,
Mhm.
cool.
It's really cute.
Yeah,
it's a shared
trophy.
That's a little creepy to me. So.
Don't ruin the mood.
Okay, so you're telling me that when you do go to a Board of Trustees meeting, all they do is give out these big elaborate awards every time. But the faculty get a traveling armadillo? We don't even get our own?
We're gonna think about something more meaningful.
Okay, back on topic.
Right,
Okay.
so, so the motion was for a 2-month with, by the next March meeting, for the Survey and Elections Committee to bring us a proposal for the nomination process for this new award. And it was seconded by Amanda. So do we need to vote on that? Okay, so all in favor of this motion, please show of hands.
We're good.
And now this is Zoom.
She counted. Okay, I count 9.
On Zoom.
Mhm.
Okay. That's me.
Okay, that is a majority. All right, thank you. And I think, was there anything else from the Survey and Elections Committee for now?
No, we're gonna be busy this semester, so please send us good energy and love.
Doing our
So,
thoughts and prayers.
thank you.
Okay, let's move to policy and procedures. Lizanne?
So our committee met last week and we created a timeline to address the faculty handbook. So there's 12 sections that we will try to finish updating in February, and then we're going to tackle the next 12 sections in March to try to get all of those changes done, including what Megan's, committee brings to us as well, so that we can get a final vote in April. That's our goal to try to get that done. And it's been a pleasure working with this committee. They're very on task, so I'm grateful.
But we need your thoughts and prayers as well.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll light a candle for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. So that was the end of updates. All right. So, research committee.
Well, actually, I have a question. I see here that on the item 6A3, number 2 says research needed on service hours. Could the research committee help with that? Or is that already being done by?
We do have a small task force already underway, but I think they would welcome
additional eyes.
help.
Okay.
So Louis?
Definitely would welcome.
Please.
Yeah, Luis is one of the members of that task force. We can't quite hear you too well.
Yeah, I said we would definitely welcome the help.
Okay.
All right, then we will meet for that. Thank you.
Okay, so research will assist with the service hour research.
Service hours.
Okay. So some old business, one of the things that came up was the need for faculty parking attendance and some new signage because as I was saying earlier, I'm pretty sure there are some parking spots that are reserved for positions that are no longer active. And so this might be something that we try and push for to try and clarify where faculty are allowed to park, because right now that lot in front of the Fletcher building says potential student parking only, or something to that effect. Whereas that used to be faculty parking, faculty and staff. So one of the things we can try doing is talking with, I think Stella Lovato. Dr. Lovato would be the one in who oversees those items. And we'll see if we can get some clarification on where faculty can park, because having to fight students for spots in the morning is not pleasant.
And I believe Francis brought up last time, our afternoon adjuncts have a very hard time getting to class on time because there's no spots.
And also in terms of safety surrounding where you park, we do want to reassure faculty that you can call for an escort, especially for those who teach at night. I would also recommend that any classes that meet at night, that the students and even the instructor have sort of an agreement to park in the same location, general location, to just so that you have safety in numbers. But you can call for a PD escort using the non-emergency number, which hopefully everybody has in their phone. If not, 210-485-0099. Yes. When I needed access to rooms in my building, when my badge wasn't functioning, that was the number I had to call all the time. Yes.
Something I would take to Dr. Lovato as well is she opened up those faculty parking lots, those previous faculty parking lots, because we were still lacking the amount of parking that we needed. And now I've noticed by McAllister, for example, that parking lot that was right next to McAllister was always faculty and staff. And then across the street by the temple was student parking. Well, she opened that up because we just didn't have enough. But now, since we've gotten 2 parking garages, there's been a shift, I think, as far as attendance and when that happens. That lot is very much open, and I don't think that I would like to see the faculty parking lot come back and those other designated areas. So I'd like you to talk to her about that and going back for these reasons to what we did. Because I don't know that parking, I even ask my students, like always, the first day of class, how was parking? I didn't have one single complaint.
Really?
And I had no one late. I mean, there doesn't seem to be a parking issue anymore, at least on the north side of campus. You know, this building, VAC, McAllister. I don't know, I can't speak to the southern side.
Yeah, the only complaint that I've had so far is that they had to go all the way to the top of the garage.
Ah,
So, but
poor things. Right.
One thing that doesn't change is that some students are racing in the garage.
Yes.
So
True.
that, I mean, I'm scared that someone's gonna get hit.
That's true.
And I did witness a student run into another vehicle, you know, with his vehicle on Wednesday because it was very cold. And I'm thinking that there was perhaps some water or ice.
There was ice getting into parking garage
Yeah,
one.
so there was ice and I don't, both cars, one was trying to exit, one was entering, and he ended up just running into the other vehicle. So that's a little bit dangerous.
This is the construction across the street.
Yeah, construction does limit visibility, and a lot of people don't realize that the speed limit is 10 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And Jeff, the other thing is English people who, sometimes I would park at McAllister, but now I park on Evergreen because now our classrooms are in Oppenheimer because our building is shut down.
Right.
And then that's
So
gonna happen
we're
again.
missing a lot of English people
Right,
that we
yes.
used to have. But now, I mean, it's open
But I think it
parking.
was, and I think it was really easy to park there even last semester.
Yeah.
I mean, it was always open,
Right.
open spots,
Yeah.
didn't matter the hour.
So way back when, we used to have a count on faculty parking lots, how many lots we had, spaces, excuse me. I don't know if Lovato would have that in her repertoire. She would know that. How many faculty do we have, both full-time and adjunct? And then how many exactly designated faculty spots do we have?
okay, so that'll be a conversation that I have, and we'll update y'all hopefully by the next meeting.
Well, and I would mention the ice.
Yes.
Why was that even an issue?
Well,
Why
there-
wasn't someone there
There-
putting something down?
Yeah, we should have had some salting on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's something that hopefully she's already aware of, but I'll be sure to bring it to her attention. For new business, we have some registration concerns, regarding student college readiness. So we have, the LEI, has been rebranded as the PGR Success, Initiative. So, this is a pretty large committee that's been split up into several subcommittees, one of which is the advising committee. And so one of the things we want to be looking at is making sure that the students who get into our classrooms are prepared for the college setting and for college level expectations, because that is something that very much impacts their success in the class overall. There is also a suggestion that has come up that we block students from registering for 2 classes that are on different campuses and less than an hour apart, because that's a safety issue, and it's also going to almost guarantee that they're going to be late for that second class every time. So that is something that I do want to bring up at the next college council meeting to see if we can get folks on board with that, because it just from a logistics standpoint, we don't want someone who's over in Northwest Vista out on in the 1604 area trying to speed down here to SAC in lunch hour traffic to try and make it to their next class. And I think that is something that students would appreciate too, because a lot of times they don't realize that they're signing up for classes at different campuses.
I know that on ACEs, when you do the class schedule, you know, we have told them repeatedly, can you move the campus question higher? So they know that they accidentally, you know, that's why. But then I was telling one of my students and he said, that's not what I see. And I thought,
Oh, what, I don't even know what theirs looks like when they do the schedule.
It's different from ours.
Is it better?
No, I don't think so.
Oh,
It's actually harder to see.
Oh, no.
It's harder for the students, interface to
and-
see.
Sometimes they can't, I'm sorry, they can't see if it's online or hybrid or on campus.
And I think we've done this before, but can we meet with? I don't even know, is it, a district person who designs the webpage for them? And tell them, can you make this more visible so that the students won't accidentally register for something that's not even on this campus?
It's whoever, it's someone in district, I don't know the name, who is responsible for the banner system.
And they design the order of those.
Yeah, and they can't even do it to where your homeschool classes pop up first. Either they can't or they won't, I don't know.
Right.
I think they won't.
So trying to prohibit from doing within an hour at different campuses, I think you should ask.
I think
It's a
it's
big
a
ask.
fair, I
It
think it's a
is.
fair ask, but yeah, I
Yes.
get that it's probably a big ask.
That's actually something that came up with a student district council. And the students that are part of the council were talking about student experience, with alumni experience, with the ACES platform, with banner registration and its non-user friendliness. So if we can support that.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay, so we're at the end of our agenda. Is there any other new business to discuss?
Yeah, so
Jeff and then
let's,
Isabel.
maybe Jeff, I think we're too late. I think we're behind. But just to talk a little bit again about the 90 core, I know that an email went out today, a survey, asking, I guess, everybody's thoughts. I will tell you that not really, I don't even think the disciplines on the 5 colleges are even in agreement. I know that St. Philip's wants to petition to move speech under 10, under communication, saying you must have 1 written communication and 1 oral communication. Also, Northeast Lakeview wants to keep it basically the same as it is now, but requiring of the 6 hours in the 90, 1 to be oral communication, and then opening it up, and then the student can have 3 hours with everything else. I can tell you, we at SAC, we've looked at both options. And we're kind of at the point where we want to keep it the same. We don't really want to have to go up against English because we think English will slap us down. And we don't think we'll probably win that argument. But that is something St. Philip's is going to move to, because speech is actually in the English department at St. Philip's. And it's the only of the 5 colleges that it is in that particular department. So they're very close. So to them, that makes total sense. But again, when we had that initial meeting with Angela from district, she said, which I still don't understand, as we are separately accredited colleges, that whoever gets to their curriculum committee first and passes through whatever that college says, everybody else has to do that.
Because the THECB sees us all as one entity,
Because-
the Alamo College.
No, because Banner can't handle that. It's the, tail wagging the dog. And so because Banner will just explode if we are different, then whoever gets there first to their curriculum committee will get to make that change. So
It's what it.
I don't know where we even stand on this, as I'm getting texts from the chemistry department about what they want us to do. I don't know how our English people feel. I'm sure they want to keep it the same. But so I don't really know, to send it out to research or curriculum at this point, we might be too late.
is possible, especially since they're already surveying, but
Yeah.
it wouldn't hurt to at least maybe put this forward to curriculum to look into. And I think that this would fall under the purview of the curriculum committee, most likely.
Jeff, I think you should absolutely meet with Eric Kilskemper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jeff, Jeff Andy as our curriculum committee chair.
So Eric Hillskipper.
Reference that our INRW lab has a different name change now.
Oh.
Dr. Hillskemper said it was English Success Center. Is that correct?
I don't know.
English Success Center that he mentioned, and it's now in the 7th floor because of the closure and the renovations of Gonzalez Hall.
7th floor of MLC?
Of MLC, 7th floor of MLC.
So the slack.
707.
Oh, the slack line. No, the slack line has.
I think it's gonna be a
Academic success. So there's.
There's gonna be
STEM
signage.
Center, English success.
Yeah. And the other.
Oh, go ahead.
TCCTA.
Yes, go.
Are any of us going to TCCTA, Frisco?
When is that?
It's gonna be February 29th through March 2nd.
We could probably still do it. I will look into what funds we have available.
We haven't touched.
Yeah. I can't really step away, so I'm not really planning on going myself, but it is, from what I've heard, a very positive experience for folks who've gone to it in the past. So I'll send out an email to once I look at the funding and considering how much we can cover, because we do want to clarify what we're able to cover in terms of those out of city conferences, because to an extent we can cover things like registration, I believe, and a per diem, but I believe room and board is still the responsibility of the attendee. So if you have someone who lives in Fresno that you could crash on the Frisco, sorry.
These ones all actually like the breakfast and like a happy hour, some meal that they do for every TCCTA meeting, I guess, membership. So, but you just have to register.
And the travel applications are due 30 days in advance now. Don't forget that.
Oh, yeah,
So
they
that's,
did away with the,
Yeah, the Guardian.
they did away with
travel
Guardian.
song,
But
so it's old.
Do you, Dr. Nadine would be more amenable to supporting TCCTA travel than past administrators?
I think so. I think in the past, we've had offers to cover registration fees. So they might be able to help with that. A lot of times here is that the budget is pretty tight though. So we may have to stick exclusively to our funds. And then Isabel, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. One, I heard that FAC 180 is going to be replaced, but did I miss what it was going to be replaced with? Or when that decision was made? Because that was something that was pursued by the Faculty Senate last year or the last 2 years, and nothing ever came of it. And then all out of the blue, it's like, oh, well, this is probably going to be the last time.
That was something that came out, that actually went up to a committee across colleges. So the committee has selected 2 possible candidates and they have put those forward. And so they're looking into one of those 2 new systems to replace Faculty 180. So it's not Interfolio that they put on the table. So they've selected 2 different options. And for now, we're still doing Faculty 180 for this last, at the very least, but it's very likely that next time around, it's going to be a new system.
Okay. And then the other thing is that this is something that the architecture program has been very much aware of, and now a lot of people know about it. So I'm just going to bring it to your all's attention in case you don't know that the Early Childhood Development Center building The old one is slated for demolition. Well, they're asking for demo permit. It is a historically significant building. Plus they have no plans, or at least they haven't talked about any plans at the district or college level about what they would be putting there instead. It's a very viable building still, which is why the architecture program is involved. We'd hate to see it go if it doesn't have to. So I don't know if we could talk a little bit more in depth about this next time, maybe put it on the agenda so we can, I could give you more of an update on where it is in the process if they haven't demolished it by then.
Okay, yes, let's do that for next meeting. We can probably even have shorter conversation or a longer conversation ahead of that.
Yeah.
Kim?
I'd like to raise the possibility of adding program coordinator's job description to the faculty senate handbook. So we would have a place to go look that up, because many of us who are coordinators don't know, when we're given all these extra tasks and given this promotion with no raise, what to do about these things. And like Jeff said, he made some very good points to Linda. We do have to supervise adjuncts, for instance.
Mm-hmm. And that
I'll try to find it. Kim, do you know where it is?
I don't think it's.
I-
Go hunt Easter egg. Where is it?
ask the coordinators if they have a job description, maybe.
Okay.
Well,
then-
Kim shared with us that really long list of, like a checklist that you had to do, Kim.
Our job description from IPI.
Oh, from IPI, I see.
IPI has a long list of jobs that we have to do as coordinators. I mean, it's amazing, the list. In addition to our, department requirements.
It is accessible.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we're gonna put that,
Yeah. I think it's the
And I don't know who could affect change in this situation. I don't know who could, look at this position and say, hey, you're really acting like a chair, and the chairs are associate deans. Who would that be? Would it be Linda in HR, or would it be EFC? Would it be the board? Who would make that decision? Because, when I talk to people from NLC, some of them are doing it without any compensation of a course release.
wow.
It is inconsistent.
Yeah.
It's inconsistent across colleges. It's inconsistent between departments.
I think they need us. They need program coordinators. We really do quite a bit. So we should stand together. We should come together and stand up. And I was so proud of you guys for writing what you did for Linda and then her coming back. I thought that was excellent. I've never seen that happen.
Yeah. She's been very open to these discussions, and I'm really hoping that this leads to something substantial. But unfortunately, this laptop's about to run out of battery.
Yeah, okay, we're okay.
You're okay.
We're okay.
But are there any last minute things to discuss? Because if not, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. Please have a safe weekend. Stay warm.
Isabel.
Congratulations, Isabel.
Yay.
And I'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.